Yep. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for waiting in the waiting room. Uh,
No problem.
so we're just going to jump in and get started. And the priorities we are going to discuss today have been democratically determined by our members after holding 40 meetings with staff across the district. And engaging staff at this capacity is something that only a large organization like DAE could do. We would have liked to be doing these meetings through the meet and confer process with district administration because we know those administrators and the folks downtown have the information that we're going to be asking about today. But we also know that we've been working for about 2 years to finalize that meet and confer policy. And there still are some important parts of the policy that was passed that need to be resolved before we can bring it back to our membership. So we have made it known to Dr. Lewis that it is very important to our members that we meet with him to finish the process and create a final version of the policy. And these priorities today represent what our students need most and what workers need to improve their working conditions. This is the best information available for what workers want and what they think will improve staff retention and students' learning conditions. We're happy to see Dr. Lewis address a few of our priorities in his proposed budgets, including master's pay, a transportation supplement for drivers, however, monitors were left out of that, a certified supplement, and discussion of bus routes and providing key fobs for transportation workers. But there are other economic and non-economic priorities that workers want that have not been included, including budget transparency and enhanced worker rights. So we know that we're short on time for this meeting, and we hope that you had a chance to preview our priorities. As we move through the articles in our agenda, we're going to ask you to keep your comments to around 1 minute after we ask questions. And we will have the Meet and Confer team introduce themselves before they speak about each article. We do have a couple of our Meet and Confer team who are unable to attend this evening, and so some of us are doubling up on our speaking parts. But first, I just ask if you'd like to introduce yourself to all of us today. Okay.
I'm not interested. Thank you.
All right. Then Shamaya will start with article number one.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Rogers, for being here. I am truly honored to be serving as the middle school representative for Meet and Confer. And I don't know if you know, but I've been a social studies educator at Durham Public Schools, at Carrington Middle School since 2011. And prior to that, I've worked with the Atlanta Public School System, and I am proud to be a 28-year-old, 28 years of experience, master's educator. And I just want you to know, I truly love children. I truly love working as an educator. Um, One of the things the members of DAE believe that it is imperative that Durham Public Schools operates with full transparency when it comes to the budget. As you know, transparency is a foundational pillar that fosters truth, trust within our DPS family. So in alignment with Article 1 of DAE platform, we advocate for a quarterly budget report that includes details for the district departments and individual work sites accessible to all staff members. And furthermore, we believe it is essential that information regarding all salaries, incentives, and bonuses offered to district employees and administrators be readily available to all employees. Now, there are close to 200 positions slated to be cut, and our coworkers are very concerned about this. These transparency initiatives are vital to building and maintaining trust. And as you know, when transparency is prioritized, distrust cannot take root. So I have these questions to ask you, Ms. Rogers. Will you commit to all points in the article and include them in our next year's budget? And just to make sure we understand, the points are: one, quarterly budget versus actual reports for the district departments and work sites that are available to all staff. Two, make internal audit information available to all staff, including up-to-date information on the fund balance and all other sources of district funds. And three, transparency around all salaries, incentives, and bonuses offered to district employees and administrators for any reason. Will you agree to commit to all these points in the articles and include them in our next year budget? And will you commit to finding out what this article would cost and not voting on a budget until we find out if this article is financially possible next year? Those are my
I'm
questions.
happy to make that request to my colleagues as well as to administration.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Article 8.
Article 8. Hi, thank you for joining us, Ms. Rogers. I'm Ananda Ghosh, EC rep for DAE Meet Confer Team. I work at Githens. I know you're familiar. I'm a EC Special Programs. I don't know why I'm having trouble saying what I am. EC Special Programs lead teacher at my own classroom here. I'm a 10-year DPS employee, 13-year DPS student. Talking about Article 8, it goes along with the budget transparency. DPS workers demand no frontline cuts to pay for the district's budget mismanagement. And the reason we need transparency and the problem we have right now is even with everything presented, we still don't know what positions are being cut. We do know that the adults have to be on the front lines to fulfill Durham's mission to the students. And that would include positions that have remained unfilled this year. Still, again, very unclear what's happening to those positions. It sounds like they might just get cut, but no worksite at DPS has unnecessary positions, filled or otherwise. The students need all of these adults. So we do need more information on specific position cuts being proposed along side-by-side comparisons. Kind of like that is used to be in the budget. So I'm wondering if you could direct administration and include that information in the budget. But honestly, I'm wondering, can you commit to not cutting any frontline positions? Are there other counties that have done that, like Guilford County, Asheville County, Buncombe County, other surrounding mountain counties? Even after facing Hurricane Helene, they've promised their staffs no frontline cuts. Could you do the same?
Okay, as one board member, I can't make that decision by myself, but I'm happy to make the request to my colleagues and to direct.
Yes, ma'am. I could rephrase it. Just would.
I'm happy to support that request.
Okay, thank you.
What's the red card mean?
I'm timekeeping just so we don't ramble on too long.
I went overtime. My bad.
Ananda, yeah, Ghosh is usually the timekeeper.
It's okay. You look like you were trying to get somebody's attention.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel bad.
I don't feel well. My voice is cracking. Yeah, I was like, you look like you were trying to get somebody's attention. I was like, is she trying to say something to me? Okay.
No, you don't worry.
Okay, great. So it sounds like for Article 1 and 8 that you support our request to ask administration for to get information for both of those and supporting a no cuts budget to frontline staff. That's correct.
Yep, happy to make those requests to my colleagues and to administration.
But would you would you support a budget that includes no cuts to frontline staff? Or with regards to what information are you saying you'll request from your colleagues about no
To
cuts?
do no cuts to frontline staff because
Thank
it would take my colleagues agreeing to that to do that.
Mhm.
Okay, we are going to hold off on Article 2 because Coach Watson should be joining us hopefully in a little bit. But we'll go to Article 3, and Sonia's going to speak to that one.
Hey, thanks for joining us. I'm Sonia Lopez. I'm a social worker at Lakewood and Forest View Elementary. It's no secret that ICE is terrorizing students at all levels of education across the country. As a district, we have a responsibility to act. We have a responsibility to ensure a safe learning environment where our students are valued and protected regardless of where they're from. If we are serious about this, we need to make it clear across the district that DPS will not collaborate with ICE. We are calling on DPS to prevent or restrict immigration enforcement on campus and train all appropriate DPS staff on how to respond to ICE agents requesting entrance to school property. As the daughter of an immigrant and as a social worker working with immigrant students and families, this is really personal for me. But I know I'm not alone. DAE hosted a training with Sambra NC on how to respond to ICE agents on campus, and we had more than 150 educators show up. Our coworkers are standing up, and our students can't wait. It's time for DPS to stand with us and say no collaboration with ICE. We've had 6 school board members commit to this article, and we are hoping that you will as well. Will you commit to all the points in the article, and will you take action to implement this article before the end of the school year?
If 6 school board members are in support, it doesn't really matter what I think. My only concern would be that if we open um, the district up to leaflets, that it would be open to everybody. And that means that anybody that wants to put anything in our schools will. But I do think that there are people in schools that should be sharing that information with families as they need it.
Okay, thank you.
So just to confirm, are you not providing a response to indicate if you support this article, regardless of what your colleagues have already said?
I don't think it matters what I think. If I say no, they still get what they want. If I say yes, they also get what they want.
Okay, we are going to go on to Article 4, and we'll have Angel and Kelly speak to this one.
Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Angelique Parkstone. I'm the cafeteria manager at Hillside, New Tech, Middle College, PLC, and New Direction. Are you tired? I am. We feed 80% of Durham's children 2 meals a day. We cannot survive on one DPS salary. Classified staff are being asked to do more and more, like feeding additional schools without any extra pay. It is time for classified staff members to be paid fairly and based on the important work they do. Staff are burnt out. They are struggling to pay bills. After meeting with co-workers in transportation, CNS, IAs, and many more, we came up with 3 top asks. A minimum 2-step increase for all classified employees, no freezing of pay, and retention bonuses for all classified employees. We are asking, will you support giving raises to classified staff?
So I'm just going to jump right in and piggyback off of Angel. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Rogers. My name is Kelly Mumford, and I am an ECIA in the COPE program at Murray Bassenberg Elementary School. I am the IA representative on this Meet and Confer team. I have 23 years of experience in education with the last two being in DPS coming from New Jersey. So I am here representing my classified coworkers. They are struggling. Most of us need more than one job to survive. Even coworkers like myself who have done the job for decades can't pay our bills. That's why I'm really excited to collaborate with you and the district leadership on how to fix this classified salary schedules to make sure our years of experiences are valued. Our most experienced educators need to be valued, or they will continue to look for jobs elsewhere, and our students will suffer. Right now, the salary schedules are hard to understand and are constantly changing and barely go up each year. Our students deserve high quality, experienced educators that are dedicated to the job. We deserve to have a say in our working conditions and to be paid a living wage. So, as in Article number 4.1, we are asking for a 2-point local salary. Do you know how much that would cost? I am also going to speak on another Meet and Confer member, Asia Pope. She's a classified staff as well. She's a data manager. And unfortunately, she couldn't be here tonight because, as we said, most of our classified staff need more than one job. So she is at her other full-time job, which she works 36 plus hours a week on top of her 40-hour a week
Mhm.
DPS job.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be talking about point two on her behalf, which is no freezing veterans pay that is above the maximum set by the state. Veteran educators and staff possess years of experience. Freezing our pay can feel like a penalty for being loyal, which can result in pushing us out of the field entirely. State scales don't keep up with inflation. It is unfair and demoralizing. I am constantly trying to move up because each position won't give me a guaranteed step up. I had to fight to keep 2 years when I moved into a new position as data manager. It leads to burnout and feeling unappreciated. That's why people leave. But when it comes down to what we can and can't do for our mental health and families, we have to leave and it shouldn't be that way. As classified staff, we are continuously thrown to the wolves, being purposely put in situations by individuals who claim to understand and care. They say one thing and do another. Tonight, please don't continue the backstabbing trend that clearly shows us you don't care. We shouldn't have to wait. Classified staff shouldn't have to wait for the state to um, to give you their budget when the certified staff didn't have to. So tonight, will you support all the points of Article 4? If not, will you wait to vote on the budget until you have the necessary information?
Okay, I have a couple questions. The 0.2%, are you saying point two, or are you asking for the 2% in between the pay steps? Because
I
the
think it's, well,
2%
go Michael,
and
can speak on that.
0.2% are two different things.
It's point two, well, Michael can speak on that. I think it's 0.2%, not the scale.
It's 2% between steps.
Yes,
So
steps.
that's what we're asking for. Um,
Here in this question right here, or this is something different?
um, so Article 4, uh, 4.1 is a minimum 2% local salary increase for all classified staff for next year. So,
The recommendation in the budget for classified is 3%, but we can ask for 2% if you'd like.
well, that's 3% that's anticipated coming from the state. This is
So
talking
the
about the
state
local
doesn't pay
fund.
for classified employees. The state mandates a pay increase for classified employees. They don't pay it. And so we would pay it out of what we request from local funding
And
because we
would
don't get
this
reimbursed. We don't get reimbursed for most classified staff.
So certified staff will also receive a pay increase from the state, but the proposed budget has $2.2 million for additional local funds for certified salaries. So the ask is there money potential and what is the cost of a
The
2%?
cost in the budget is a 3% pay increase for classified staff. The cost would change if the board takes action to change the percentages between steps. So if you want us to change the percentages between steps, that estimate is going to be different than what's in the proposed budget. And I can't speak to that if we're advocating for that.
So back to that, would you be willing to ask what it would cost for a 2%?
People have already asked, board members have already asked what it costs, and I'm looking forward to the calculation.
Okay. And for number two, no freezing classified pay for this year and for the chunks of time that it is anticipated that most classified staff will have their pay frozen. If so, one issue is that you're not voting yet, or it's not clear if you're voting on a step for classified
So
staff.
the salary administration policy that has come to the board 3 times indicates that we're keeping steps. It
They're
says that.
not automatically progressing. The board has to vote every year.
So the board doesn't have to vote every year. The board has to vote on what the pay increase will be every year, but each year everybody will keep a salary step. When they did the salary study in 21, 22, um, the recommendation from that contractor was to change the steps. And administration heard loudly and clearly lack of interest from both the board and from employees of changing the process on steps. So the steps are staying the same.
So you can say that um, every classified staff will get a local step increase that's different from what the state.
I'm not telling you that there will be a pay increase. That's if the budget passes and we get enough money from the county commission and from the state to do that pay increase. Okay. I can't speak to what the pay increase is going to be because that's a decision the board has to make in an approved budget.
But you're saying right now in
Like,
Dr. Lewis's
steps are
budget,
going to change. And in Dr. Lewis's recommended budget, it's a 3% recommended 3% pay increase for all DPS employees, certified and classified.
okay. We will check that because that must be new information between
It's
Monday
not,
and today, because none of your colleagues had that information.
well, they're not paying close enough attention. It's not new. It's been in there the whole time.
And then part three, retention bonuses offered for positions. Um,
Happy to ask for it.
okay, thank you. And we have Coach Watson. Um, hey, Coach Watson, we held off on your article. Are you good to go over Article 2 right now?
Watson put in the chat that they're driving right now, so they can't speak quite yet.
Oh, thank you. Never mind. We'll come back and get you in a moment. Then let's go to Article 5.
That's me. This is master's pay. I think you've heard me talk about this a lot, so I will just get right down to the questions. Dr. Lewis's proposed budget includes extending master's pay to social workers, but not everyone. Will you commit to supporting and extending it to everyone who will have qualified before 2013? I have two other questions, but I'll let you respond to that one first.
Happy to make the ask of my colleagues.
Thank you. Only 11 social workers are in that proposed budget for next year. I don't think that's accurate. I've talked to a lot of social workers. I think it's a bit higher than that. Will you commit to ensuring that if next year it's 15 social workers, that we're not cut from the budget again?
Next year?
So the proposed budget like forecasts 11 social workers qualifying for master's pay for the budget next year.
Okay, it's just a forecast.
Okay.
So they would include everybody in those classifications.
Okay.
Like if they hired somebody over the summer that
Mhm.
has a master's degree, they would also be eligible for that.
So if they put social worker, then they'll do that. Okay.
Right. And if they meet the qualifications, yes, all that stuff.
And then in November, Dr. Lewis committed to bringing a plan before the board in 4 days. It's been over 4 months. Will you commit to bringing a vote before the board on master's pay for this year?
If it's included in the budget, why would it need to be separate?
For like retro pay for this 24-25 year.
That's not in the budget, no.
Okay, we'll go to Article 6.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Rogers, for being here this evening. My name is Haley Filliger. I'm a third grade teacher at EK Poe. I've been teaching third grade there for 10 years. I'm serving as the elementary rep for our Meet and Confer team. And the article that I am highlighting is article number 6 that refers to printed contracts, clear expectations, and fair extra duty pay. Because we know that every adult in our school deserves clarity and respect, and our students depend on that. In any other job, a printed contract is standard. It's something that doesn't cost anything, but it provides essential protection for workers. Right now, staff across our district are working without that clarity, and we're being asked to do more without compensation. If administration committed to limiting extra duties and not relying on unpaid labor, extra duty pay would be incredibly affordable. This isn't about spending more money, it's about fairness. Our students notice when schools are short-staffed, they notice when our buildings aren't clean, when buses run late, when teachers are stretched too thin. These disruptions matter, most importantly to our students. So, alongside addressing the longstanding issue of compression, I'm asking, will you commit to ensuring that all staff have printed contracts, clear limits on extra duties, and fair pay for extra duty in the 25-26 budget?
I don't have a printed contract for my job. And so I don't think that it's completely accurate to say that everybody has, most jobs have contracts. I also would not want to give anyone, especially educators in classrooms, the impression that DPS could commit to something um, as early as the request y'all are asking for, because the state and the county will not have approved their funding. And so we would be committing to something without having the financial backing to support it. And that is concerning both on DPS's end and DPS's ability to commit to its employees. So not under the current circumstances, no, but under other, if there were other circumstances that would make this feasible, then absolutely.
Okay, so to be clear, you don't support printed contracts for staff.
Not by May. And the articles that I read requested that happen by May. And I didn't say I didn't support it, um, but not by May. And so if something has changed about the articles, I'm happy to review that. Um, but without the state settling their budget and us knowing what is going to happen, and without the county having settled their budget, um, I would not advise anybody to commit on either side, both employees and DPS, to a contract that has no financial backing.
Thank you.
Okay, I am going to speak to Article 7, which is a collective grievance policy. This is the longest one in our articles, and the tracked changes are due to taking DPS's current grievance policy and putting it into our article, and then showing some changes that we would like made. And a grievance policy spells out the process that workers can go through if their contract is violated. It usually spells out employees' right to bring a representative or coworkers with them to meetings with supervisors or management. And there's two key points with regards to this article for workers. So the current policy allows for union representation at the boss's discretion. So our policy guarantees the right to have representation in the grievance process. And the current policy also only allows workers to file individual grievances. And we often face common issues that ought to be addressed together. And it disempowers workers to divide us when we are dealing with a common issue. So DPS's current grievance policy is weak because it prevents any workers from filing complaints collectively with representation, leading to an environment where grievances are rarely submitted and workers often feel intimidated and unsupported. We propose a much more robust grievance policy that allows for multiple employees to bring collective grievances if necessary and provides for union representation in meetings with supervisors and HR. We believe that email me if you have issues is not enough, and that all DPS employees deserve transparent and equitable process to formally handle workplace issues. These are standard workers' rights that are already guaranteed in Lawrence, Kansas, and many other places. So, will you commit to all the points in this article and to taking action on this article before the end of the school year?
I'm uncommitted on a timeline. I would like to see what's happening in states like North Carolina that where public sector workers do not have um, the right to collective bargaining, but I'm interested in reviewing the policy.
Okay. Coach Watson, I'm going to double back to see if you're available. Let me check the chat. Ghosh, can you go ahead with number 9 while we're waiting on Coach Watson?
Yeah, Article 9, in order for us to retain workers, while they consider whether they stay in Durham, a city that has continually rising cost of living, we as professionals, all of us certified and classified as professionals would like to have a multi-year plan for raises. Can you commit to implementing a multi-year plan on classified and certified raises?
Given that DPS doesn't have the authority to implement generate our own revenue in order to cover a multi-year plan, I'm unable to commit to that. The state determines how our budgets are set, right? We have to do it annually, both on the local level and the state level.
Just for example, this year, as I know our organization has tried to make it very clear that we want to fix classified compression and do these other things with classified staff, and that hasn't shown up in the proposed budget. But at the same time, 2.2 million for certified has shown up, even though nobody has the state's numbers yet. What we're just asking is, can we stop with the back and forth so I don't have to sit here and go to my A's and be like, which one of us do you think is gonna have a raise? Like that, we're not about that. We're not trying to be set up against each other. Whether it's not hard numbers, it's like, what is the plan for raises, classified and certified? But I appreciate your answer.
I understand that. The tradition in Durham has been to set the county commissioners and the county up for success and set DPS up for success. So it's been certified, then classified, classified, then certified. It's gone back and forth. And so one of the reasons we got the major investment last year is because we made the request for both. And that is unsustainable as a request to the county. We also have to prioritize the needs of students, particularly around capital needs that we can't take from personnel, right? And so we have to decide what we're asking the county for and prioritize some of those things. And sometimes it's not going to be both certified and classified. It will have to be one or the other, but it's up to the board that's seated at that time.
It would be nice to have a plan instead of us finding out, here we are, tomorrow's the vote. We just looking for a multi-year plan.
I'm also happy to make a request to move the funding to support certified to classified employees. But we can't ask for more.
I think one thing to add here would be, last year there was a similar situation where the county was recommending the school district um, request less than what they originally asked for. And um, DAE and the community did a lot of organizing and
That request was not communicated with me from the county to request less last year. It was not communicated with me.
but the school district's request was not 27 over $27 million at first.
No, because the board directed administration to add things to it. It had nothing to do with the request from the county commissioner. They had no impact on the original request from administration, the original recommendation. So what happens is it starts out as a superintendent's budget and it moves um, forward with board members giving their feedback, adding things, taking things away, prioritizing certain things. And then when the board adopts the budget, it becomes the board's budget and the board's request. So the board requested at that time what the board had an understanding would cover the needs of all of our requests during budget season. We later found out that the numbers that were provided by administration at that time were not exactly accurate. And so it's most important for us to believe in the current administration and the CFO and trust that the systems and processes that they're putting in place um, have created a budget that is in the best interest of everybody within DPS and within the feasible scope of what the county can afford. And if the county says, we're not going to give you that, then we'll say, okay, we have to take what you're giving us, but we have to make the request. And so we're requesting again the top of what we think we can feasibly get from the county commissioners. And so if for some reason the information that has been provided by the superintendent in this superintendent's recommended budget is inaccurate, then it's up to the board to use our evaluation tool that we established in the fall to hold the superintendent accountable to the work that he has presented to the board.
And so you, as a board member, have already submitted your priorities to the superintendent for his budget.
Yes, we've been talking about the budget since early February.
And so local supplement raises for certified is a priority over supplement or salary increases for classified staff.
There's a salary increase included for classified staff. I already established that a few minutes ago.
That's coming from local funds.
Classified staff are paid on local funds. Most classified staff are paid on local funds.
And that's not a pay increase that's mandated by the state, correct?
It is the one that's mandated by the state because the state doesn't fund it. They just require us to implement it. And if you look at the recommended budget right now from the Senate for classified, it's 1.65% that is recommended. And DPS's recommended budget remains at 3% for a pay increase for classified staff. So the state, if this if their budget passes, which I hope it won't because there's so much more deserved for education, educators, and in public education. Um, then we're already asking for more than what they have recommended.
Okay. Coach Watson, are you available to speak? And if not, I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the transportation articles. And I correspond.
Watson just shared that they're not going to be able to speak. I think they're still driving.
Okay, thank you. Um, so Article 2 is our measures to address the transportation crisis. And the first part of this article is a step plan that rewards years of service and meaningfully addresses pay compression. And that's related to Article 4 for classified staff. Part 2 is a $300 a month supplement for bus drivers and bus monitors, and a $25 hour per hour for substitute drivers and part-time drivers who were left out of the supplement that Dr. Lewis has proposed. We're also asking for at least 2 personal days um, annually for all classified workers. This would be similar to certified staff, that they get 2 personal days a year. And also connected to that are 3 paid inclement weather days annually for classified workers. Um, Angel can probably speak to this in a minute. Cafeteria staff and transportation workers, when schools are closed for weather, they are not paid for those days. And in the past, they were able to do some of their professional development and the safe schools trainings, but they're no longer permitted to use that time for that. Paid monthly meetings with a team union, veteran drivers, and TIM supervisors to help fix routes. Coach Watson shared with me that routes are already being worked on for next year, and they're not. The TIM's manager is not asking for input from drivers or the veteran drivers who have been there for a while to help with those routes. And the last part for this Article 2 is fobs or keys for drivers to get into school so that they're able to use the facilities, the bathroom facilities, and to get water. This has been an ongoing issue throughout the year that we've been talking about, and one of the urgent demands that transportation workers brought over the winter that has not been resolved. And just really highlighting that it's really important. One of the things that transportation workers have been asking for, there was a majority petition from the transportation workers. They really want to be a part of the route development process. And it's clear that that's already starting without the input of the folks that are driving the routes and know the routes the best. So the question is, do you support all parts of Article 2?
I would say all parts of Article 2 are what we hired the superintendent to do. And so the superintendent has to make sure that that's being done, and the board has to evaluate that also as part of his evaluation process in terms of collaborative work. And so that will be up to the board to decide at the evaluation time
So,
if he has successfully done those things.
so he has already committed to providing 2
No,
personal.
that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I said all of that is within the realm of what the superintendent is supposed to make decisions on, the route planning, the key fobs, et cetera, all of that. The personal days, um, that would be within how he employs his employees. And that's up to him to make that request. Um, I don't know enough about the leave days and how they're allocated, who is monitoring those things. That's something management does. I manage at a different company. I do not manage as part of DPS. We are supposed to be governance, and I stay focused in that lane. Um, and so, um, not being the person that's responsible for logging in and approving people's leave time and making sure that is done, um, that all falls within the purview of administration to handle. And so I would not commit to that, not having enough information about the how and what happens when an employee leaves, and what happens on the ground, in the buildings, in the departments when those positions are out. When somebody on my team is out, it impacts my entire team. And I wouldn't expect anybody from the outside to be able to tell me how to manage that. And so I am an outsider that's not willing to tell him how to manage his staff, or the principal how to manage their staff, or um, the operations team how to manage their staff.
Okay, thank you for providing those details. I think we've talked about all 9 priorities. So as we talked about, and as you've seen here, educators have come up with these 9 priorities, and thousands of educators are ready for action in order to see these priorities and improvements happen before next school year. And now it's time for school board members to take action. So we appreciate you being here and listening, but what workers and families need is that action. So will you commit to not voting on the budget until we have the transparency we need about the frontline positions, the amount of money available for different items, and the fund balance?
Um, no, I'm not willing to go that far. The county has given indication that if we don't have our documents into them by the 29th of April, that that we will be unable and ineligible to request funding from the county. And I'm not really willing to put that at risk by not voting for a budget until all your requests have been answered. I do appreciate the work that y'all have put into this. I appreciate the advocacy. Look forward to supporting it both at the county and state level, um, in terms of getting the changes where we need the changes to be to make that stuff happen.
Tonight was only possible because of our membership. So we are the largest ERO in DPS because thousands of
Tell
workers,
me how you define ERO.
employee representative organization.
I know what it stands for, but how do you define it? I think that that's one of the questions that y'all had around Meet and Confer is a definition of ERO, but that's the language you've been using. So if there's question about how that is defined, I'd like some clarity.
Well, it's the number of the membership.
ERO is the membership?
Well, no, it's a group of employees that are a part of a organized group of members.
And that's how you want it defined in the policy? That's why you want to talk to Dr. Lewis again?
Um, that's for Dr. Lewis and the DAE team and our lawyers to talk about.
Oh, okay. So it will no longer be board policy.
I'm confused about your question.
It's board policy. And so whatever y'all are going to decide, I'm asking you how you define ERO right now, if because you just used it,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm asking you to define that for me as part of this conversation because there's some speculation about what that is according to the policy that the board passed 2 weeks ago. And you're asking for an opportunity to talk to Dr. Lewis about that again, but you just used it. So I'm asking you what the definition is if you think it's not clearly defined already. Because you're using a word or acronym that you don't think that there's a definition of. And so I want to hear what your definition is.
Our definition right now in this moment, and of course I
Mhm,
haven't talked to Dr. Lewis about this,
mhm,
is it's a organization of educators or employees in that organization. It's a pretty vague description in the policy, and that's why we just want everything spelled out because you know that policies are not just for your current board to put
mhm.
into practice, but any board in the future.
So how would you make it more clearly defined?
I'm
Because
not,
it's
that's for this team and Dr. Lewis to discuss.
okay. Because the board's decision on it won't matter.
I don't understand
Because
what.
ultimately the board approves the policy or not. And if you can't define it for me, as I've asked just now, you're going to go and define it with Dr. Lewis. When it comes to the board, why would I vote for it? I'm
Well,
trying to get
well,
clarity
we're
so that I
gonna
can vote for it. And you're not saying to me what how you're using ERO right now. That's different in the current policy.
well, the request to meet with Dr. Lewis to talk about this, of course, would be this team, and then we would bring it back to the board to vote on. But I'm not going to speak for Dr. Lewis in this moment.
I'm not asking you to speak for him. I'm asking for your definition of the acronym that you just used.
I think I explained it fairly well. There are other EROs in Durham Public Schools, but we're the largest one.
Okay. We can agree to disagree on the fact that you defined it well.
Okay. Um, Anyway, we have not received preferential treatment for holding this meeting, as well as any of the other meetings we've held with your colleagues. And what we've been asking for 15 months is public meetings like this one between the majority union's elected team, most of which are here, and our democratically um, uh, elected team, as well as our shared priorities, and district administration, who, like you said, are the ones who have power to implement these changes. So we look forward to starting Meet and Confer in the fall, but we look forward to fixing the Meet and Confer policy, which, as you indicated, has to go for a board approval if there's any amendments to be made, and hopefully starting this policy next year.
We hope to start it next year
Thank
with
you.
your certification.
If you don't have any other questions, I think we are done.
All right, y'all have a great night. Thanks so much.